My name is Dr. Kemi Akiyode-Adebayo, popularly called Mama K. I'm the Executive Managing Director and Trustee for Bold Moves. And this is an event by the Leading Women of Africa in partnership with Bold Moves Africa. This is the very first one we're having. The future is female. And what we want to do first, I know January has been a long month for we all. Before we go into what we're going to be discussing, I want people, we've got to think about how many people in the room just now, about 20 or thereabout. So yeah, 15. If you could just say where you are, where you're joining us from, and even our speakers, please feel free to communicate in the chat room. Just the chat room, just a little bit of house rules. Please have your phone, ish, okay. Have your Zoom on mute. If you're using the phone, yeah, please put on mute. If not, we will get the admin working behind the scene to mute everybody. The reason being, we want to be able to hear each other. So please mute yourself unless you want to talk. You can show your hand by using the emojis there or put in the chat room. We've got technical, behind the scenes who will let us know that you do want to talk or say something. So in the chat room, if you could just start, where are you joining us from? Who are you? Because this is all about meeting, opportunity to, network with each other and more. So please in the chat room, I don't see anyone talking just yet, unless is a chat room disabled. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, Cindy. So Cindy, hi everyone. I'm tuning in from Midrand. Welcome, Cindy. So wherever you're joining us from, let's know where you're joining us from. And another thing, since we're talking about health today, how are you feeling today? Today, not yesterday. In fact, just now, how are you feeling? Just let us know how you're feeling out there. We've got professionals in the house. So how are you feeling today? Just today. How are you feeling? So let's see who else is there. KD, obviously, the lady behind the scenes doing all the work from Cape Town. Super excited to be here. Good to see everyone. I think we've got a shy crowd today. Let's see. Oh, okay. We've got Madalena Dube from Zimbabwe. I am feeling good. I like that. Not complicated. I am feeling super excited. Good. Wow. Okay. Lillian from Cape Town as well. How are you feeling, Lillian? Let's know. How are you feeling? I'm feeling down. Right. I'm sending you some hugs. I'm sending you some love hugs, my sister. No, Z, don't worry. It will pass. It will pass. Let's see, how is everybody doing? And I'm glad you're sharing the fact that I was even looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm feeling overwhelmed at the moment. That's the truth. Right now, I'm feeling overwhelmed. So, Nosy, I can relate a little bit to what you're feeling. Not down, but a little bit, yeah, all crazy. Let's see who else now. Exhausted, yes. Oh, it's too hot. Wow, Lillian, don't worry. Don't let's complain about being too hot. When the cold starts, we are going to be complaining it's too cold. Right now, in some parts of the world, it's very cold, but yeah, it is hot. Please drink loads of water. Let's see who else. Afsa from Durban North. I am well. I love that. In Nigeria, we always say it is well. So I love that statement. I am well. So, okay, let's keep going. And I'm glad we've got specialists in terms of mental health who will be talking to us a little bit about, emotional state as well. So let's see. It's too hot today. Wow, what's the temperature then? I'm not in Cape Town. Tell me, what's the temperature? Thunderstorms every day. Oh, that's sorry. That's in Zimbabwe. Okay. All right. Rain. They need rain then in Cape Town. Maybe we'll send some rain from Zimbabwe to Cape Town. Okay, what's the temperature? Who knows what the temperature is just now in Cape Town? And maybe Durban as well. Who knows? What's the temperature? I know we can check Google, but let's see who knows what the temperature is right now. Who else now? Okay, all right. I think we've done that. Let me now do another check, with you as well. So, what do you plan on doing for this weekend? What are you looking forward to doing this weekend? What do you plan on doing? Let's hear. Let's hear what you plan on doing this weekend. Let's see. Oh, 23 degrees was that Dublin? I can't see that one now. Okay. Let's see. I didn't see that one. Okay. Nazibele, you're welcome again. Cindy, you're welcome. Let's see who else now. Afsa, you're welcome. Brenda from Cape Town. Oh, it's my birthday weekend. Happy birthday. So she's feeling happy. Please give her a round of applause. We're probably going to sing. We're going to find someone who can sing. So they will sing happy birthday for you. Happy birthday, Brenda. Something to look for. Oh, okay. KD, I didn't know that. It's also my birthday weekend. Wow, you see? So you're going to be celebrated. You see, Madeline didn't know that. Now she knows. So resting and catching up with old friends. I would love to do that, Tate, as well. 23 degrees in Durban, quiet time at home. Lovely, awesome. So happy birthday to all our birthday weekend people. February month is a month of love. Now I'm going to start shortly, but so since we're in February month of love, how are you going to be spreading love this month? How are you going to be spreading love? Let's hear it. Dr. Lynette, you can join in. And Tshepang, you can join in. I want to hear what you guys hear. So how are you going to be spreading love? Okay, let's see. 25 degrees in Harare. Yeah. Okay, at least no one is 30 yet. No 30 degrees. So how are you going to be spreading love? Love, love. That's my final one for our just warm up.
I actually read an article, and of course I'm going to bring it back home to the topic that I'm passionate about, to say that now a lot of people find themselves anxious about this specific month because of the nature, or rather the definition of what love is. So a lot of us, we are hard on ourselves to say that now I can't give love based on how everyone expects me to give love. So my word will be to everyone that the best way you know how, and of course your partners, your loved ones, and close friends and family would know and appreciate the nature and the love, the kind of love that you give. Mine will be just to say, just relax, give the best love the best way you know how. There's no pressure. The gifting and everything, the most important gift I always say that people can give is the gift of being present. So I always say to people, be present if you don't have much to give. So I will be celebrating this month, of course, around that, thinking that now do the very best that you know and do the best that you can. Don't overextend, and also don't undersave. Know what you're capable of. Yes.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And we've already set, the motion, be present. Don't overthink, don't hear, because we will talk about this especially later on. I can hear in the chat room with a smile. I love that. Smile does not cost a thing. If only we could smile more. I know sometimes it's not easy to be more patient and kind to myself and others. And I think that's part of what you were saying there as well. Yep, that's part of what you were saying. Let's see, is there anything else? Okay, I think we're good to go. But thank you for indulging me with that. Just checking in, basically on how everybody's doing and how everybody's feeling. Because yes, the pressure from, celebrating the love month and everything else, or the pressure, of even the month itself being after January, where everyone broke or just getting back, from celebrations and everything else. So welcome if you've just joined us, and we're glad to have you here. This is Mama K, and in the midst of everything, I got my honorary doctorate degree from the last time that we met till now. So I am Dr. Kemi Akiyode-Adebayo, but not like Dr. Lynette, Jansen-Olarogun here, but I am still just so thankful, for that blessing upon my life. And I'm just using the time to bless anyone as well that is looking forward to good things like that. Okay, Brenda, she said, thank you. I'll be spreading self-love, And what else there now? Yeah. And to show up fully to those who need me and show compassion. Thank you. That is awesome. Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping again for those who just joined. Please keep your phone on silent. If you need to chat, go into the chat room. The whole idea is for us to use that chat room. You could use it to say about yourself, what you do, start connecting with people right now. That's fine. And today we're going to be talking about the topic is the holistic health of professional women. And this is very, very special for me because most of the time we as women, we don't look after our health. We play various roles in the home, sister, mother, neighbor, and everything else. And most of the time we don't look after our health. And I'm fortunate to have my gynae in the room, my doctor, my friend, my sister. I know maybe I shouldn't be confessing that you're my gynae, but she is my gynae. She's keeping me right. Dr. Lynette Jansen-Olarogun. And we've got an amazing lineup of other speakers, Mr. Tshepang Mahlatsi, who is a mental health activist, and Tate Makayi. So we'll be finding out about who they are first and then just having conversation about the topic we're talking about. So I will just start with Dr. Lynette Jansen-Olarogun. If you just tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll go into certain questions that we'll be asking you in terms of holistic health of professional women.
Hello, Mama Kay. Am I still there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, sorry. I'm Lynette Jansen-Olarogun. As Kemi said, I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist. I work at Kingsbury Hospital in Cape Town, and I also do lecturing, teaching, clinics at the secondary level hospital in Cape Town at Mowbray Maternity Hospital, where I serve on the Health Facilities Board as well. I am, first of all, a mother and of two young adults. I am a wife. I'm also a daughter and a sister and everything that Kemi mentioned earlier. Yeah, so we do wear so many hats on any given day, but I'm very honored to have been asked to speak among such knowledgeable professionals. Thank you so much. That's me in a nutshell.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lynette. And I'll just ask our male panelist to just introduce himself, Mr. Tshepang. Just tell us about what you do. I know you're a mental health activist and assistant at the UFS Center for Human Rights, but just tell us a little bit more of whatever you want to share with us today.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. Immediately when I received an invitation, the first thought that came to mind was that privilege. You are in a conversation where you need to be very cautious of your privilege and also appreciating the fact that now one can say that now your gender activists would say we don't need a man to save us, we don't need a man to tell us what and who we are. And of course, as a speaker, it's very important for you to appreciate that before you can prepare anything. Since last year when I received the invitation, I've always been training myself in the understanding that now appreciate your privilege and appreciate that now things are not as textbook approach as they would be when you read them, because now you're talking about, or rather you'll be in a group of people who are experiencing these issues of firsthand, and also you'll be in a group of people who are expecting, a group of people who are interested in knowing more about themselves and also the world around them. Like you introduced, my name is Tate Mahlatsi, and I hold a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of the Free State. I'm currently busy with my Masters of Law, and I'm studying specializing in mercantile law. My thesis is based on mental health in the world of work, and I'm particularly interested, or rather the group that I'm studying is healthcare workers during the COVID-19. I'm trying to see if we need more than just law to respond to mental health, especially in the world of work. And also, besides that, I am the founder of Next Chapter, which is an organization that aims to address the issues of mental health amongst the students, and also, in particular, the decentralizing the knowledge about mental health using various platforms, your social media, using your print media, using your mainstream media. And also, I also, on a part-time basis, I do consulting for small companies on how best can they interpret the international instruments, the continental instruments, and also the general rules and legislations insofar as mental health, or rather general well-being of employees are concerned. And that's in a nutshell, Tshepang Mahlatsi, just a gentleman who's trying to make sense of this whole concept of mental health in more or less the layman's terms.
Right. Thank you so much, Tshepang, and thank you for sharing, some of what you've shared there, and wishing you very well, with your masters. It's good to have you on board, and we definitely need men, on board, with us here as we have these conversations. And yeah, apologies we couldn't do this since October, and it's good to wait. So we're glad you're back and you could join us today. So last but not the least, our third panelist, my dear sister, Tate Makayi. She's an hormone wellness coach and the founder of Perfect Symphony. Unfortunately, Tate can't join us with a video. So we're just going to hear her voice at the moment because she's having network challenge in Zimbabwe where she is just now. So Tate, if you could just okay, I can't see her. Oh, she is there. Okay, if you could unmute yourself to just tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry I can't share my video, load shedding issues, and also I am in public because I was trying to get the best network as I could. My name is Tate Makayi and I am the founder of Perfect Symphony, which is a company where we help females that are struggling with their hormones. So that is starting from puberty all the way to post-menopause. And I am also the regional vice president for Crown for Success, where we help to empower women in terms of just finding what they want to do in terms of turning their passions into profit. I'm also a member of FIA, which is a Female Entrepreneur Association of South Africa. I am also one of their ambassadors till date. So I know it's a bit noisy and I'm really sorry about that, but that's just a brief overview of who I am and what I do. I am also a life coach as well as a hormone wellness coach.
Awesome. Thank you. A very, very multi-skilled lady you are. And we thank you for all the work you're doing with the women, with the young people. And we'll definitely, hear from you. And we will try as much as possible to bear with the noise, where you are. But thank you for still being able to join us. So to start this conversation, and I'm glad, Tshepang, you started with that issue of what you said at that beginning about love. So if you could just, let me start with you. What is mental health? And what common mental health issues do professional women, struggle with?
Okay, thank you once again, and very welcome to everyone who joined this conversation. Firstly, before one engages on what mental health is, one is more prone to want to understand further, to say that now, what is the theoretical framework of our understanding of what possibly could mental health mean? And immediately what comes to mind, the first thing would say that now, how do I differentiate between mental health, mental well-being, mental illness, and mental health disorder? And also how do we position this in the world of work? And also in understanding that, one can say when we think of mental health, the textbook approach to that, one can say that now it involves the effective functioning of an individual. Are you in a state of well-being where you can be able to realize your abilities and cope with the everyday life? But also you also need to go back further. You want to further investigate this and ask the question as to, but how do I differentiate mental health from mental well-being? Because it is common that people would say that now, I have mental health issues, but you realize that it is more of a well-being issue. But also when you say that, you ask yourself, okay, when it comes to well-being, it is very important that you draw this distinction. Well-being, one can say that now, okay, now I know what mental health is, which is the effective functioning. Well-being involves now the opportunity, or rather the ability, to be able to respond to ups and downs of life. So sometimes you get into a position where you say, I can't respond to this specific stressful environment. So now that cannot necessarily be mental health issue. It can just be a well-being issue, where it involves now your ability to work on your time, work on your ability to distribute or share work, communicating your inability, and when the work is becoming too much for you. But it further goes on to say that now that I'm aware of mental health, I'm aware of mental well-being, what will then mental illness mean? This is the part where now we include professionals to say that now, using the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-11, and using the diagnostic manual tool for mental health conditions, which is your DSM-5, this is a diagnosable condition. So mostly in social media and everywhere, the word depression, the word anxieties, the word and other mental health issues are thrown around, but people have never given themselves an opportunity to see a professional. Why did I mention DSM-11 and DSM-5 and ICD-11? This is the part whereby now we are saying, when you say you have a mental health issue, a professional, as prescribed by ICD together with DSM-5, can make a diagnosis, and sometimes some diagnosis can imitate the issues of well-being, can imitate the issues of general mental health. But now also, once you've understood what mental illness is, which is a diagnosable condition, we are looking at the mental health disorder. This is where now you'll be talking about your depression, anxiety, ADHD, you're talking about your OCD, you're talking about all other mental health conditions. And I've learned yesterday when I was doing my master's that now dysthymia, which was part of a second form of depression, is no longer called dysthymia. It is called persistent depressive disorder. And these things change over time. You realize that now, well, this thing is persistent. It's a low mood and a prolonged loneliness, prolonged stress that one can face. So this affects me. But the most important part of the question is in the world of work. This is where we're saying that now, firstly, appreciating that stress is very important for part of our lives. Stress helps people to focus. Stress helps people to be able to perform certain types of jobs. Stress helps a person to find that thing in the morning to say that now I have a submission. I need to wake up and jump straight to do this task. But now when it is becoming prolonged, that it affects your mental health and mental well-being, that's when we have an issue. And in the world of work, we have this issue that we say that now, I want to know if really Nkunu is a hard worker or she's a surviving burnout. Because now there are people who are like, I'm a hard worker, always working and things like that. And this is the go-to person for every company to say that now, Mama K, we know when we send her this document, she will respond immediately. But now that's a person with high functioning anxiety who is given an additional task, developing more stress and anxiety, and end up developing such a form part of mental health condition. Now we are talking about what? We're talking about burnout. We are talking about constant irritability. We are talking about the inability for a person to focus on work and tasks. But the most important question that one can ask to say that now, when we do this, can me as a person who is identifying for the purposes of this discussion as a woman who's previously disadvantaged, can I take this matter forward to my line manager? And the chances are the answer is no, but we'll leave this later. So I was just trying to bring a picture to say that now the common mental health challenges that women face, depression, which is emanating from excessive stress. We have stress, we have burnout, which is emanating from stress, leading to depression, leading to burnout. We also have some common mental health features that do not form part of these mainstream diagnostic tools, but they exhibit signs of other mental health conditions. And what I've been arguing lately in my master's process is to say that now, we know that now in South Africa and all around the world, people spend hours and hours and hours at home more than they are spending time in the workplace. So the question that we ask ourselves is that, is the work environment willing and prepared to appreciate the mental health conditions that women do bring, despite them being marginalized amongst other things?
Wow. Thank you for that insightful, condensed reply to that question of mental health and in terms of what it means for us. And I like the fact, what you said, in terms of the stress, persistence, stress and the good, what's it called, whereby, yes, a lot of us thrive on stress, but how do you identify as well when you're burnt out, especially at work? And I think what you said now, especially in some countries or some employers now allow some of our women to work from home. So now it's even more difficult, combining home working, with you trying to, I think we're getting, okay, all right. So, so combining homework with, even while you're at home, combining it, all that and juggling, basically. So let me ask the same question to Dr. Lynette. I know you're specialized, in gynae and obstetrician. So what do you think for you? Now, what's your definition of mental health? Because I'm sure you do have issues of where you see women come, because I know during our private session, I've complained about being burnt out, overwhelmed. What advice will you give to such women who come to you from work and they're struggling?
The reality is that all of us suffer from low mood, whether it's dysthymia, persistent depressive disorder, feeling overwhelmed at work. I know that most of us as healthcare professionals are certainly suffering from burnout in various degrees because of COVID. We all COVID fatigued, we vaccine fatigued, we counseling fatigued. But the problem with women is that it's not only the professional part of it. It's not just the work aspect of it. It's from whence we come, from our hormones as well.
Yeah.
We are afflicted by low mood before our periods. We are afflicted by mood changes when our husbands annoy us, when our kids are going through tough times, when we are pregnant, when we are postpartum, when we see most of the depressive episodes with hormonal changes, and certainly, by and large, at the time of menopause. And so many of the symptoms around menopause obviously are estrogen deficiency related, but everything that we are as women is because of hormones. Our hair, our skins, the way our hearts beat, the way we respond to love, to stressful situations, depends on where we are in our cycle. Everything, whether we are hormonal because we're ovulating, hormonal because we having our period or whatever, it all comes down to female hormones, and we see that a lot of times, people are diagnosed with depression around menopause, but it's actually not depression. It's just the symptoms that you feel because of the lack of hormones. And instead of an antidepressant, perhaps you just need, some hormone therapy, or as a colleague of mine calls it, vitamin Prozac, which is Table Mountain actually. Just walking up Table Mountain can relieve so much stress. And
what did you call it? Vitamins Prozac?
Yes. So we are made of hormones. Hormones affect our moods, and every patient who I see, whether it's a 15-year-old girl or a 90-year-old woman, yes, I have a 96-year-old patient who comes every year to ask me, when are you going to ask God to take me? And I'm like, no, he can't. We still have too many chats to have. Everybody comes for counseling. There's a counselor in me in every possible situation. And as much as people think it's all physical reasons why they come and see a gynae, most of our job is counseling. Most women just want somebody to listen, somebody to hear their issues, not necessarily only the physical part. And the physical part is not by and large, but sometimes a minor part in the greater scheme of things. So I certainly do a lot of counseling. I'm not really trained to counsel. My counseling comes from personal experience, from medical school days, from seeing what works with, trial and error, seeing what works with certain patients at certain times of their lives, and of course, drawing from my own experience as with wearing all my hats, and that definitely helps. And so that's where I stand on that.
Okay, so let me go more now into your own area. Thank you for that input, and I love what you said with the vitamin process. I think I need to be remembering that. Just go on Table Mountain or the nearest, place to just take a walk, and you're right.
Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
She's not called Mother Nature for no reason.
I completely agree. So, in terms of your specialty, which is in gynae, and how does that affect women at work? They come to see you. I know it does, but you said about it earlier on, whereby maybe you're going through your period and you're not in a good mood, and meanwhile your boss is stressing you out, and and everything else. They don't even understand. They have no clue, and you can't be telling everybody you're going through this, or whatever the case might be. So what can a woman do more to handle such at work?
Okay, so we spoke a bit, or somebody wrote on the chat about self-love.
Yes.
So for me, my love language is giving. It's not self-love. And for most women, that is the reality. And we give and give and give. And unfortunately, that's what happens at work as well. And the problem is that adds up, unfortunately, and it can manifest as mental problems or psychological issues, but it can also present with physical problems. And I always say to my patients, the problem is that the brain is the center of everything in our bodies. And female hormones are produced centrally from the brain. The centers are in the brain. And if you are stressed, your female hormones, your male hormones can be affected. So we see patients who are too stressed, who are not eating, who are not sleeping, coming in with abnormal vaginal bleeding, not being able to fall pregnant, because there's so much anxiety, there's so much, and yes, it stems from anxiety from work as well. So I think we have to go back to the self-care, and to kind of say, is this working for me? What can we try to help? I write a lot of motivation letters for people to work from home. And that, interestingly, was the best part of COVID. As much as we didn't like it because we didn't interact with people, for pregnant women, it was the best time. Because they didn't have to drive in traffic to work. They didn't have to sit there and look for bathrooms, get up every time, have sort of backache and hip pain because of them sitting on uncomfortable chairs. They didn't have to negotiate the traffic home from work every day. So we found as obstetricians, separately from the gynecologists, that women's mental health improved because they were calmer. Their bonding experience with their kid, with the baby, was calmer, because it was literally the mother, the baby. In the second wave, it was the father as well, but it was the mother, the baby, the healthcare workers in the hospital. And when they went home, it was the dad, the mom, and the baby. So there was so much one-on-one time that they had. So definitely, we also saw an improvement in mood. And in fact, for certain sort of places of work, I almost want to encourage them to keep it that way. You know, for people who can do, not for me, I can't deliver a baby remotely. It would be great if I could. That would really make my life so much easier. But for people who sort of do online, you know, that if they could do hybrid work, do 2 days in the office, 3 days at work, I really, really think that would improve mental health sort of globally. And we've seen through the pandemic that it can work. And because people worked harder because they kind of worked later in the day, but then food was cooked, the children were bathed, her husband was happy, everything was done. And yet she was working from home. So it helped her as well. So if we could just look at that from a work point of view, we as healthcare professionals may need to write fewer letters to sort of encourage that. Because unfortunately, mental health and physical health are intertwined. They are intertwined. Yeah. We see it all the time. We see it everywhere. And if we don't take care of our mental health, we're not going to be able to take care of our physical health, because we will not be able to take that step to self-care.
Right.
All right.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Lynette. I'm now, because you spoke so much about hormones there, I'm now going to ask Tate to unmute herself. I know we can't see on video. And she's a hormone wellness coach. So Tate, if you unmute yourself, to you, what does it mean, you know, looking after, you know, the wellness of your hormone? What do we women need to do? You know, we heard how Dr. Lynette, when they, you know, spoke a lot about hormones being something that is really important that we sometimes, you know, don't even pay attention to. So how do we understand our, or what is the importance of hormone wellness? Tate?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. K. When it comes to our hormones as ladies, we tend to neglect ourselves, as has been said. Yes, we give, and forget that we also need to fill our cups. And I feel that the biggest thing that women tend to forget, that sets their hormones on a complete tailspin, because you see, our hormones work like a symphony. So once one is out of tune, everything else tends to fall apart. And the biggest contributor is how much sleep you get, how much good quality sleep you get. You can sleep all day and still not get enough rest and still not feel rested. So it's very important to get enough sleep and rest well and rest properly.
So let me just start, and I know the bank has to leave at some point, but I want to, before I go back into some of what you were sharing was so powerful, I want to just read something that Afsa said in the chat room there out, and just I was actually going to do that, you know, just to get interaction from our guests. She says, after I'm firstly human, female, non-practicing attorney at law, human rights activist and public speaker, education, mental health, migrants and refugees are topics close to my heart. I am South African born, lived 20 years abroad and returned to South Africa nearly 2 years. I am 53 years young. I love the emphasis on young. Hope for Life initiative, glad to be part of the conversation. And then I think Claire was saying, very insightful discussion. So glad I caught the second half. Great work as always, LWA and Bold Moves team, and great speakers. So I just wanted to share what some of our guests were saying in the chat room. I know, you know, everybody has been, and it's the weekend, so we didn't need that to happen. And some of us are followers of Jesus. We don't need to see such things, but this is life. These things happen, so we just need to keep going. So thank you for those insights there, which was so powerful, Tshepang. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to just wrap it up with, there. And I'll get Tate as well to just comment. And then I have one question, and I think I'll get then Madeline to just say a few words as well after that. And then we'll come back to a few more questions.
Okay.
Questions from the audience as well.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think now that I'll just try to wrap everything around three things. Firstly, to the employer, you need to be in a position to notice the warning signs and the changes in your employer's behavior. As I've mentioned, some of the practical behaviors that you can, or rather signs and behavioral patterns that you can identify. And secondly, talking. So when it comes to talking, the talking should not only be expected from a person who has been diagnosed with mental health challenges or a person who's having mental health challenges. So as an employer, you can create the culture of creating the ability for a person to engage and share with you to a certain extent their psychological well-being or a need in particular. And what is more important in doing so, it is for you to express concern and contribute to a positive work environment. Is there something that we can do for you? How best do you think we can assist you? Is the current employee wellness program at the work, or rather within the company structure, working for you? Perhaps do you have your own support structure that you can perhaps want to explore outside the work or what we can provide? And the last part will be acting. And in acting, it is very important that we realize that now, having noticed and having started the conversation, acting requires a contribution from both the employer and employee, and also creating the culture of destigmatization insofar as health issues are concerned. It involves the need for the company to consider connecting the healthcare professionals outside the workplace, because one of the challenges that I've picked up through my research is that it's not that the employee wellness programs within companies are not working, is that there's an element of trust that is missing when it comes to that, to say that now I can't speak to D about my issues, yet D is also part of the company, because the chances are the employee, or rather client privilege, is going to be an issue. And also when it comes to acting, we need to also to realize that now we need to make sure that we dismantle any form of abuse, in being it emotional or psychological, because all these things, they ultimately lead us to some of the points that I've mentioned. So if anything out of this conversation for an employer, you notice, once you notice, you talk. Once you started the conversation, you take an action around that. But the action should not be a blanket approach, because that's what most companies do, to say at least we have one or two people experiencing the same thing, let's use the same blanket approach. That's not the case. You need to also to be able to deal with the issue on case-by-case basis.
Let me go to Dr. Lynette, and maybe she will just share a little bit of her background as well. But just to, ask you as well, Dr. Lynette, you heard Tshepang talk about, the stigmatization, in terms of, even just, not just mental health, but even somebody being pregnant and going through menopause, Tate was sharing, there as well, where people don't feel comfortable to even share about what they're going through because of maybe the stigma, people might have. What's your opinion, about that?
In terms of, I'm trying to understand the question.
So stigma, there's a lot of stigmatization with mental health, where people don't even feel they have a problem, or people don't think they have a problem, or mental health itself is stigmatized in terms of different culture. And then in terms of you're pregnant, whereby it's like, oh, are you the first person that will get pregnant? Are you, all those stigma, sometimes subtle ones, or you're going through perimenopause, like what Tate was saying, she started at an early age, and the stigma, oh, maybe it's because you were overactive, sexually active. That's why you're having this. How does one handle this? And do you get a lot of that?
All right. So
yeah.
The issue with stigmatization can be associated with the issue of people not being educated enough around the problem the person is going through. And just for Hafsa's sake, I'm a gynae in obstetrician and gynae in Cape Town, and I do public and private work. So for the person herself, himself, mental health is sometimes not recognized by the person, him or herself. So it's difficult for that person to kind of express it, talk about it, seek help, because my mother didn't talk about it. My aunt doesn't talk about it. 5 of my cousins have committed suicide, but hey, they were sick. You know, we always find a reason for things happening. It's God's will. The devil made us do it, whatever.
Yeah.
Like the pictures we saw earlier. That was more offensive than anything. You know, so firstly, we as women, once again, coming back to us putting ourselves last. Everything else is important. Our jobs, our husbands, our wives, our children. So we don't recognize that there is a problem in ourselves. We just know that maybe, as Tate said, it's related to our periods, or it's related to menopause, or it's related to pregnancy, but we don't actually know what's going on, and we don't recognize it as a manageable problem. So firstly, we downplay it because we're not allowed to be sick. Because yes, you have to perform in it seems like an old term, but in a man's world. Or a woman's world where the woman doesn't have a partner or children, or you know, the challenges that you may be facing, and so there are different things about stigma. And then there's the social stigma. If you're a Christian, you can't be depressed. What friends of mine always say, too blessed to be stressed. And I say to them, actually, I think you're the most depressed person I know. You know, let's just actually, because you're not being honest with yourself, because you're saying you're too blessed, but you're not actually acknowledging the fact that you're going through things and that things are affecting you. And what you went through 20 years ago, 40 years ago is still affecting you now. How your father treated you, how your mother treated you, how your previous partner treated you is affecting you now. Whether you are on hormones or not on hormones, whatever, it's affecting you. So it as with everything, it comes down to education. And I'm not talking about being at a Model C school or being at UCT or whatever. It's the you know, the being on the ground education, the kind of acknowledging that we're not all the same, acknowledging that we come from different backgrounds. There was a lot of talk earlier about being kind to ourselves, but being kind to the next person as well, you know. So we all get annoyed when people don't turn up for work. We all get annoyed when people you know, don't show up, or they don't deliver our food or whatever. Everything annoys us. So we're not really being that kind to other people. So it's often difficult to be kind to ourselves as well. Stigmatization, education is important. I remember with myself, even I had a difficult first pregnancy, since we're now sharing things, and I had to go off earlier than I was meant to, and I was still working in a public space, a public hospital. And a colleague of mine phoned me 2 days later to say, "Are you sure you can't do your call tonight?" And I was quite taken aback. And this was a man, but I must say, having worked in a woman's space, because I only see female patients for a reason, women are very hard on women. Female bosses are very hard on women. And people who haven't experienced what the person is going through, they're very hard. And poor Tshepang kept saying, you know, the male bosses. I would be more careful of the female bosses, actually. All right? Because the male bosses often, don't talk to me, go to your gynae. You know, they'll rather get rid of people, or they'll be, in fact, some women say they don't like seeing us as female gynaes because we tell them how they should feel. We don't listen to how they feel. Whereas a man who has never experienced what they're going through, they seem to be more sympathetic to their symptoms. So I always find that very interesting, because we are bad to each other. We sometimes cause our own stigmatization because we're not kind to each other, not in the same.
How do we? Sorry, don't mind me. I don't want to lose that thought. How do we address that specifically? Because I know a similar one, I think last year when we had this conversation where a female engineer was saying similar to what you're saying, and I remember very well. How do we address this where women, we keep saying, yes, women, we need to support each other's women. How do we, and I know I'm not saying it's not happening, so people don't misunderstand me, but if a lot of people are saying what you're saying, how do we address this? How? What more should we do?
By doing this, by talking, by educating, so we see a lot of young girls in our practices, whether they unfortunately pregnant or coming for contraceptive advice or whatever, abnormal periods. We take that time, that half an hour, whatever, to ensure that they are heard, to ensure they know that they must listen to others as well. So wherever you are, I think, because it's not going to come from government. I mean, we can't. We now have a minister of electricity. So we compartmentalize, we put somebody at the top, but we can't solve the problems at ground level. So we've got to do it when we go to church, when we go to work, when we speak to our daughters, when we speak to our daughters' female friends, when we educate our boys as well. Do you understand that this is wrong? Whatever that person has gone through is not right. So education, talking about it, spreading the word, having forums, trying. I think where you and I are, we can, in terms of age, we can sit back and kind of go, actually, what I did 15 years ago was wrong. We kind of at the point where we can self-analyze and try and correct what we did wrong. And I think if we speak to the younger generations, they know a lot. They research a lot. They Google a lot. I love Tshepang. He's enthusiastic and he's he's so passionate and powerful. Absolutely. And I remember that from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I remember that person in me. And now I'm sort of going with, I can go with what I've experienced. And in terms of my experience, if nobody taught me not to stigmatize somebody else, I've got to do it for that person. So generational changes. And I think it's very important. There's no magic formula. We have to change. I think we have to change ourselves in terms of our reaction to things. And that's all I can add, Kemi, really. There's no tablet. There's no surgery. There's no medical thing. It's a social thing. It's an everyday thing. And I think we must also, I think people should just start respecting each other more. I think we've lost that ability. To accept differences. We very intolerant. And maybe we should just look at that and try and do our little bit in our corners.
All right. Let me get some of our guests and attendees, and I think we might get some of our team members as well, because some of them are the ones here. We can't get more people, just back yet. But let me open the floor now before we go into the next section. If there are any specific questions for three speakers related to mental health, hormones, gynae, or just general health, in terms, because we're talking about holistic health of professional women. So you could either put it in the chat room, or if you want, you could just show your hand up and we'll get you to speak, or just put it in the chat room if you have any questions or comments. It doesn't need to be a question as well. Maybe you want to add more or take away, or you don't agree with some of what has been said. Please feel free to share, with us just now. So yeah, I'm just looking in the chat room if there's anything, and let me see if there was anything earlier on. Okay, earlier on was just more comments and yeah, to show compassion. Yeah, I think we've read that one. So if there's anything, anybody with a question, let me see, just to make sure I'm not missing any hand. But feel free to go into the chat room, and I'll just go now to, while we're waiting, it's fine, we can wait, we've still got time. Okay, Katie, all right. Katie, go for it. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mama Kay, and thank you, everyone. So I think my question as an entrepreneur is, how do we make these things apply to the women who aren't employed by anyone? So just a personal example. So this past week, I wasn't well, but I'm an entrepreneur. So how do you, Kate, what advice would you give for an entrepreneur who has to work, who has to push through the stress and everything, because they must actually get through to the other side? So how do we cope with the excessive amounts of stress that we can't help as entrepreneurs, and what are some of the coping mechanisms, if I can use that, or tools that you can suggest? I think also for Dr. Olarogun, it's how do we actually then go that extra mile of taking care of our health without the medical aid, without, so what are some of the affordable ways that you can suggest that women who are in business can still get that holistic health element? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Doctor.
All right. Okay. You're an entrepreneur. I have been in private practice for 20 years. So that means I've also had to go through I've got to work. Bills don't get paid if I don't work. I can't be sick. I can't. My advantage is if I am sick, I can probably treat myself, so I don't have to go to a doctor. But I think in terms of, if we're going to do health, then we must do preventative health. You have to live a healthy lifestyle to prevent yourself from becoming so sick that you can't pursue your entrepreneurship and blah, 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 blah. So once again, Tate spoke about it earlier, about eating healthily, exercising. I still find that going for 30-minute walk in the morning, once a week, twice a week, going for a longer walk over the weekends, meeting friends for a coffee, and that doesn't have to be in a restaurant. That can be at home. You don't have to waste money on going to a coffee shop. You can make your own stuff at home, So I find that social interaction helps with my mental health, which means that when I get back to the office on the Monday, I definitely feel better because I've had a break. I've had laughs. I've had nature. I've had positive endorphins. If you want to swim, you can swim. So definitely healthy eating, definitely exercising. It doesn't have to be at a gym. There are parks everywhere. And if you don't want to do a park run, you can walk. You can do your own thing. You can get a friend to walk with you. And years ago, Mama Kay told me about how she walks with people and counsels people. And nowadays, that's what I do. It's much easier than sitting in an office. It's much more pleasant. Avoid alcohol. So avoid passive smoking as well. Yeah. We tend to, when we're stressed, we tend to have alcohol. Most people do. That's not the best idea. If you can do everything in moderation, as Tate said, that would help as well. So keep your own body healthy. Even if you don't have a medical aid, even if you don't have the means to go to the doctor all the time, you are, even as your own boss, even as your own or startup, as the startup or whatever, put aside some money every month so that during the year you can access a general practitioner. As a woman, you can definitely access a gynecologist once a year. Put away money every month. You don't need to walk. My father taught me you do not have to walk on a lot of money, Lynette. He meant that you do not need a 2,000 Rand pair of shoes. That's what he meant. You're going to get from point A to B on 100 Rand pair of shoes as well. Okay, maybe not 100 Rand, but so I think if we prioritize and we ensure that what we're doing on a daily basis involves taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, saving money, you can access care at some point. And if you're an entrepreneur and you have saved 200 Rand a month since last year, you would be able to get something from a pharmacy when you're ill, which will then, speed up the process. Make a friend with a doctor who can send you a prescription or something, or can advise you on what to take when you're ill, or a nurse, or, we tend to live such isolated lives, and we've become more so after COVID, that we don't want to impose. But it's better to impose when we are not too ill. It's better to ask when we are not too sick, before you become ill enough to end up in hospital and then not being able to work. So from a health point of view, we really have to be a step ahead. And the global health, the movement in health is, yes, we have the big tertiary centers like Grooteskier, Joburg Gen, Tygerberg. We're trying to get people away from there. That's definitely in South Africa. It's back to the primary health care units. Only the very sick go to tertiary hospitals. So at the moment, definitely over the past few years, the referral criteria to main hospitals, big hospitals, teaching hospitals, have become so strict that you cannot walk in anywhere. And that is where and I always say, people forget that their health is their responsibility as well. It starts there. If you don't take responsibility for your own life and you don't take care of yourself, your children will see that, which means they will mimic that pattern, which means that is what you leave behind as your legacy. And I know we often say the government owes me. We have apartheid. They owe us. Yes, to an extent, but actually you owe yourself. You owe yourself some kindness, some self-care, and also to empower yourself for future health, future health of your family as well. And when you live, well, that's what I've realized is when you live, you actually don't live for yourself. You live for your community and all of that people always tell you. But you actually live for your offspring. And we also live for our grandchildren, because whatever we teach our children it's gonna go down the generations anyway. So if you're gonna be I'm gonna say something bad, if you're gonna be a sloth and you're gonna sit on your couch and eat chips and have alcohol and watch Netflix all day, that's what your children are going to see. And that's not the legacy you'd want to leave. So that's kind of my approach to people who have to work, because unfortunately I've had 2 pregnancies. The one pregnancy I had 6 weeks of maternity leave. The other one I had 2 weeks of maternity leave. My son grew up under my desk at work. We make it work, and we make it work. And he's very physical. He's active. He plays soccer. we make it work, because that was a phase. Eventually you become more active and you can then say, actually, let's do this, let's do that. But at that point, to make it work, to make our family unit function, that's what I needed to do. So you adjust according to the situation.
Right.
That's all I can say.
No,
Yeah.
that was loaded. Practical solutions, and I know Tshepang is wanting to jump in. I know we've got more questions as well in the chat room. No, it's fine. I don't want to lose that, but just so powerful. Practical solutions, in terms of, what can be done and what more needs to be done. Afsa, will come to you, and I think we have 2 more questions, but let me allow Tshepang to say a few words, I think, as well.
Yes, because I'll be leaving the session at 6. I just wanted to appreciate Dr. Lynette, because sometimes you are more theoretical when you speak of these things, and we forget that what is it that I can do personally. For example, for one, I've been avoiding to go to the gym. Be like, once I have this X gym and I start this, and you're like, no, you can actually start with the path to show that you have intention for that. So those are the things that when no one is listening, you reflect on them. But to briefly go on this question, to say that now being an entrepreneur in its very nature, it's an ideological factor to stress. That's a stressor in itself, in its nature. It's a profession like medicine. Because I'm investigating healthcare workers, saying that now, by virtue of the profession, that's stressful in its nature. It's a constant, perpetual state of what's happening next, what's happening. Entrepreneurs, the situation would be, am I getting a business next? Am I getting this? I'm a consultant, I do consulting, speaking, and things like that. There's a year where you have gigs after gigs after gigs. There's a year where you're like, nothing is happening at all. And you're under stress of saying that, no, but bills needs to be paid and things like that. But how do you maintain your psychological sanity? Or rather, let me just say, how do you maintain sanity within that? And I think in reflection of what Dr. Lynette is saying, is that the appreciation of the extent of which you can offer yourself, and also go there and say, but this is not what is cut out for me. We are energetic, young, and we feel like we can take the world, the country and the world in our own shoulders. But in doing so, there's nothing wrong with the aspirations, but taking care of yourself, knowing what portion your plate can serve. But now, in more practical ways, I think young people, more especially entrepreneurs, what we need to appreciate is the fact that there's also nothing wrong with seeing government-based health services providers. There's nothing wrong with being calling SADC for telephonic counseling. There's nothing wrong with seeing other mental health institutions that offers free. You have your pandas, there's quite a lot of those that can do online 1 or 2 sessions, and depending on intensity, only then one can worry about getting a professional. And also, as Dr. Lynette is saying, there's nothing wrong to saying to Mama K, I know you're a psychologist, I have this and this and this issue. If there's a way in which you are willing to do a pro bono sometime this year, can you please put me in there? Now, the person sees your initiative and taking care and taking a step insofar as your health is concerned, then we take it from there. There's so many other issues, the health-related issues, that requires us to have a different outlook on that. But as a young person, I would relate to D and say that now we need to be in a position to appreciate the fact that now also sometimes we don't need to live the expectations of other people. Mental health sometimes emanates from the idea of living from the expectations, being it of your boss, being it of yourself, being of not someone else, being it that of a specific entity that you're working for. So I would just take it from Dr. Lynette's points to say that now I think I have a different outlook now of saying being physical. Adding to that, or rather taking initiative, and adding to that, there's nothing wrong with asking from services from people who offer free services, because at the end of the day, the aim is to get everyone to be in a very positive state. So once again, thank you so much for having me. I want to say that now I really, really enjoyed the session despite the challenges that came with it. I always say everywhere I go speak to people that be loyal to your calling and the universe will locate you. And once located you, the situation with me and mental health is not me being interested in mental health. It's me having suffered from depression, me having been suicidal at some point in my life, me having to drop out of university, coming back because of mental health, and realizing a need for other people that now I might know all this information because I might have had a best psychologist. So it remained my responsibility to say, there are people who might be in need of this help. This is when I offer myself. This is the part where I say, this is how far I can help. I'm not counseling you, but I can give you the right path to get help. And now I think, as Dr. Lynette has said also that, and also when you ask Mama K your question, to say, how do we solve this problem? Starting conversations that are unconventional, less formal conversations. Over a coffee date with few of the friends. Oh, we are having a ladies catch up. We are having the gents catch up. We start having conversations because at the end of the day, I always refer to the situation of the late Dr. Professor Mayusi, if I may put it like that, to say that we've lost a giant in healthcare, and of which partly part of my master's is influenced by his passing and untimely death. To say that now everyone is going through something, and it remains a collective ability to respond to mental health in particular, and the destigmatization, decentralization of knowledge and advocacy is very important, being it at home, being it in your community, being in the workplace. And my interest in the workplace is that people spend a lot of time in the workplace as such communities must be that now they create such spaces. So I'm really sorry, I speak very fast generally. Some of you might have missed me a lot as I was speaking, but thank you so much for having me, and I really, really enjoyed the session.
I know you have to go, but you see, you're going with a bang again, huh? Is it because the bang is going out with a bang? And there's so much you packed in there, that I believe should be part of a conversation. So I'm going to appeal to our team, maybe later on in the year, to find out how to bring you back, because you're going to share from that personal experience. And like Dr. Lynette that she shared, and this is what this is about. It's not just about, we're talking about what we read, but these are practical things, like she shared a son on the table and the experience when she was pregnant, and you now as well you had depression, you were suicidal. So we need more people to hear your story, that way, like you said, it's not about counseling, but it's about how do we just start having those unconventional conversations? I know Madeline wants to say something as well, because she's put a video on before you go, apart from saying thank you to you. I know there are questions in there. Afsa already was speaking about what you were talking about, and she wanted to know background of you speakers. And I think hopefully she's heard about your background a little bit, and we will share at that as well. So Madeline, is there anything you want to say before? Okay, all right, okay. But thank you for your time, and we would love to have you back if you have the time, so that we could continue to have that conversation. And like Tate said, Dr. Lynette said, education, and you're saying that as well, education, and this is what we're trying to do through a platform like this, and we're hoping people will take that away. So we've not finished. For the rest who are here, it's only Tshepang who is going, so please stay on. I think we've lost Tate completely, and probably she's still having network challenges. Yeah, thank you to our dear brother there, and we need more boys, the boy child as well, to hear your story, because that is needed, and the statistics are not looking good, with boys, young men committing suicide in South Africa and some parts of Africa as well, Nigeria as well. We have young men jumping into the lagoon, things like that. So we need to continue to have conversations like this earlier, and see how we can work. But thank you. I know you have to go, like you said. Afsa, I know Afsa has put a video on, and she did, mention what she does and wants to connect. She shared her email. So I'm hoping maybe you get her email, because she says as well, our work includes mental, professional, and personal development. But if you could take a number, and I'll give Afsa the platform to please share, whatever you want to share with us. And I know there's still another question there. We will come to that. Senza, I haven't forgotten you. We will come to that. Let me just allow Afsa. Thank you, Tshepang.
Thank you. Bye. Dee has my question for whoever who might need my contact details, I think Dee can be able to assist with that.
Maybe just share it in the chat room just now.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Before you go.
Please
Yeah,
just do
if you
that.
could just share it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Afsa, if you could unmute yourself, and the floor is yours. There you go.
Hello, everybody. Well, I'm a new face, but there's a face. But I have my water bottle. So if I scream, there's a monkey entering my apartment and I have to jump.
Water bottles are allowed, so don't worry, I've got mine as well.
Oh, they are so bad here in Durban North. Well, actually, they also part of humanity. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Or I would say Sawubona, as I was born in Stanger. I learned Zulu before English. And so much of what Tshepang, with 9 languages, I have to come back to English sometimes. Thanks for your understanding. As a mentor and also being, as I said, 53 years young, I think as a person of color, as a female, having worked in large multinationals and also for the South African government for 6 years, having been abroad for 20 years, as a mentor, whether or as a human being, I do offer pro bono work because I come from a very humble, underprivileged background, and even if I have done international liability and contract law with important claims like 9/11, what is here and what is here is very different. Because people are always impressed. Oh, you're now doing your doctorate degree and you're 53 years young. And I go, but that is here. We have the same up here, the brain. And I also, as a person of color, have faced challenges working in a man's world. Working with litigation, mediation, arbitration in New York, having been employed by a Swiss multinational company. They found me, I didn't find them. But it was a white man's world, it was a white world. I had 30% less salary as a woman, based out of Switzerland, one of the top 5 most expensive places to live in the world. So I think from a professional aspect, from a heart aspect, I wish to, by offering the pro bono work, I humbly wish to give my experiences in private life, personal life, mental health life, the professional development courses that were offered to me through Swiss Reinsurance Company, which is one of the top 3 reinsurers in the world, one of the top 3 employers in the world, to give back to society, to humanity. Therefore, I introduce myself always as human being first, as human. Whether I'm speaking at Women's Smart Zurich, whether I am attending to Women for Syria, people talking about refugees, this is my humanity. This is who I am. And that's why from the pro bono work, 25% I have always gave. It enriches my life to give back to society. And our oldest son is actually a Kurd from Syria.
Wow.
He is our son. It does not matter who he belongs to, but I had a lot of stress because I was wondering if his biological parents and family were okay in Syria. So I feel human beings, especially because of social media, yes, we have to at some point have a 1-minute elevator pitch where we introduce ourselves. But I think when we show our vulnerability, when we tell people what we experience, or maybe my heart was beating fast and I was worried if our oldest son's biological family is fine in Syria. The close friends knew what I was going through. I was like, you know, the heart was beating. I was all, I was in a bus, and he calls me mom.
Right.
So I think I spoke enough.
Not a problem. Thank you
it was
very
a
much,
difficult
Afsa.
last 48 hours. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. I like the fact that you are offering yourself, saying you can help do mentor work, you can do pro bono work, and I'm sure we got your details there, your email, your phone number, because like you said, you've worked for multinationals, you've got the experience. So I'm sure we will liaise with you as and when we need to do that. Thank you so much, Afsa. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you all.
All right. So we have the question from Senza. I think it's only going to be you, Dr. Lynette, to answer the question, although it is related to you anyway, in a way. So I will just read it out. Thank you, Senza. She said, thank you for the interesting discussion. How do we put ourselves first as women? I think you've spoken about some of that already. What can women do to manage their hormones? And then she said as well, any suggestions on how to manage excess workload and being forced to work after hours in order to push your work? So I think you're our only panelist left. But the questions are appropriate for you as well. Yeah.
Okay. Can we start with the first question? Can I get the first question again?
Okay, the first question is, how do we put ourselves first as women?
I think it's time we do. It's, as Hafsa also said, we have to take care of ourselves in terms of, and it needs to happen from an earlier age than we are at, because we forget our own voices, and we forget that we can ask and that we can demand more assistance from our husbands, assistance from our children. Very often we struggle because we are so I will say control freaks, perfectionists, that we prefer doing things ourselves, regardless of how it affects us mentally. And I know that all too well, because that's how I function. I do things myself because firstly, I know what I want, I know how I want it done, and I know it's going to get done. So I throughout my life, that was my motto. It didn't work out that well, because we drop balls. Yes. We have to drop balls if we're going to do everything. So from a practical point of view, perhaps we should have that discussion with our husbands, with our colleagues, just to say, I've been doing this for X number of years, I've been doing this for X number of months, weeks. Could we just discuss how we can share the load? It's not easy. It's not easy for us as women to do that, because we also, there's this thing about being a superwoman. It's completely overrated. You don't have to be that person. You really don't, because it causes so much anxiety in yourself and fear of failure. And there are actually lots of people around you who want to help, but you don't allow them to. So it's once again looking inward, seeing what your personality is like, what you can cope with, what you can share, and asking for help. And if I could give any advice to younger women, is ask for advice. Tell people how you feel. You don't have to scream, you don't have to shout, you don't have to be offensive. Just tell them how that you feel. It's easier said than done, as I've said. But that's the only way we can sort of take care of ourselves and sort of to reduce the workload. as far as work is concerned, I may be the wrong person to ask because I'm an obstetrician. So my days run into evenings. I'm lucky that I can sit here and talk, that I haven't been called to the hospital. So I personally don't know how to reduce the workload for myself. But I think if we look at doing things, because I always have lots of admin. There's always letters to be written, people to be phoned. It's a lot. And during the week, you cannot catch up on everything. So what I've tried, doesn't always work, is to put aside, I give myself an hour or 2 hours at night to try and catch up, but only that. So you work as fast as possible, you try and get it done, but only that. If you're not done with it, sorry, the hour's done. It's movie night, or it's movie time, it's dinner time, it's reading my book. Whatever you need to do to make yourself feel better, but also allowing time at night to finish it, if you can't finish it during the day. And I also find that generally, I watch people in workspaces, and people have a lot of tea. People have a lot of tea breaks. People have long lunch hours, which I would love, but I know that would be such a setback to completing work. So if you could, there's a lot of chatting and gossiping and catching up about my husband and my grandchildren and on a given day. Can we cut those shorter? Can we perhaps say that in my lunchtime, I will eat for 15 minutes, I will chat for 15 minutes, and then for the next hour, maybe try and catch up on the work that I didn't do this morning. You know, so there are little ways where we sabotage ourselves. A lot of women, unfortunately, still have long smoke breaks. I struggle with even the idea that women still smoke. There's so much education around that, but people still do that, and it cuts across. And yeah, so asking for help, sort of better time management, and sort of to do things that are to make time for important things, so that you can spend time at night chatting to your husband or helping your kids with their homework or whatever. There was a third part.
The third one, yeah, I know. That's why I want to remind you now. And this one is in your space anyway. What can women do to manage their hormones? What can they do?
Okay, so it depends on your age, okay, because what we do with the hormones is really dependent on what your needs are. Are your needs are your hormones affecting your skin? So you need a pill for that. Do you need, are your hormones affecting your periods? So you bleed for longer. Do you need a pill for that? Are you trying to fall pregnant? Do we need to do fertility investigations? The simple things that we have found that do improve premenstrual tension. And it's long-standing research that was done many, many moons ago. And since I was a student, we've done this, is that change in hormones premenstrually is associated with low vitamin B levels, low omegas, low magnesium levels. And if you supplement throughout the month and perhaps increase the doses premenstrually or perimenopausally, you can also improve your mood swings and your hormones and stuff. In terms of, so that's natural things, and obviously the exercising. Maybe look at if you feel very bloated at the time of your periods, if you're feeling very bloated around menopause, try and cut out the refined sugars and the white breads and the white flour. So do the browns, do the whole wheats, do the brown sugars, or just reduce it at that time, because unfortunately hormones cause you to feel bloated, causes fluid retention, and also causes tummy discomfort. And if you improve your gut, or with a probiotic, you can also improve what happens around the time of the period from that point of view. And then, of course, if you need hormonal therapy, then it depends on what your needs are at the time, and it's better to discuss it with your GP or your gynae, whatever the case may be. And we have so many female, definitely in Cape Town, we are spoiled for choice in terms of female GPs who do well women work as well. So you don't have to go to a specialist. Yes, we do the ultrasounds and things, but just for a general chat, advice. There's so many powerful, energetic women who are also taking on women's health to sort of reduce the waiting times to see a gynae, or the cost involved, or the waiting times to see specialists at tertiary hospitals or secondary hospitals. So there are ways of getting around it, and through healthy living, you can also improve things. That's
Right.
it.
Thank you, Dr. Lynette. That was really useful, practical solutions, as well again. And I liked, all the pointers, you gave there, all very useful. And I hope, Senza, you're happy with those feedback. Now going to hand over, because I know we're about 6:30 is when we said we'll finish, even though we had the break and everything else. So I'm still trying to make sure we catch up, with time. So what I'm going to do now, unless there's any comment, thank you, Senza. Thank you, Afsa. Thank you so much for your input, with that, and KD as well for your questions, there. So what I'll do now, I'll hand you over now to Madeleine, who will summarize, it will be kind of an opening and closing remark in a way. Based on some of what we've heard, excluding the interruption, obviously. I hope nobody was traumatized, with that. It seems, Madeleine, you are traumatized. I could see it in your face, but yeah, these things happen. But yeah, if I could hand over to you now, and then we'll have KD share any programs, for the March one, and then we'll just wrap up. Thank you, Madeleine.
Great. Thank you, Mama K. I think, it's opening and closing as well, as you said. I'm happy to do that all in one. And welcome to a new year. And I don't know if we can just say compliment of the new season to everyone. And again, our apologies for what happened. These are actually beyond our control. That is a virtual space that we into now. Maybe for those who are new to Leading Women of Africa, we are a Pan-African social enterprise. We have footprint across the continent. We've been in existence for over 10 years. Our aim is actually to bring women to interact with each other together across the continent. And not only that, but also to share the economic opportunities that our continent, our beloved continent, has to offer. So pre-COVID, we used to do a number of trade missions, and in Africa and across the globe. We actually used to attend various trainings, and I think Senza joined one of the training we had in Europe at one time. And we do a number of female leaders training. We have a number of programs, empowerment programs. We have entrepreneurship programs. Our main mandate is really to promote women economic empowerment on a continent through facilitation of entrepreneurship opportunities for women. So if you are new, this is your home, this is your space where you will be able to connect with women from across the continent. We have presence in over 32 countries. We facilitate trade and investment. So we basically work across sectors and industry. Whatever sector that can empower women, we are there, and we want to ensure that how the sector is doing, how can we encourage more women to basically actively participate in that sector. We have network of women women engineers. We have network of women operating in infrastructure space. We have network of women operating in construction in various sectors, male-dominated sectors, because we really want to make sure that women is not left behind. We all want to build this continent, to make it, we're talking about sustainable development goals, and even the AU is talking about the Africa that we want. The Africa that we want can only happen when men and women actually come together, and we all use our strength, because we do all have strength, and there's a purpose why God created male and female, so we can complement one another and to make this world a better place for everyone. So before I actually sum up, that's my introduction, and welcome to everyone that is new in the group. And maybe I can just mention that with Bold Move, we've been in partnership for the past 2 years now, and where we have monthly webinars such as this. We cover various topics that affect women, or various topics that women are interested into that will benefit women, such as the one today. I'm sure we've all benefited from the expertise of the experts in the room. So that's what we do. So before I get now to my conclusion and just a few points that I've taken from the discussion, I don't know, for some reason, what happened in Turkey has broken my heart. That, when you watch TV and you watch all these young kids and you watch all these women, you watch, just how, in a few seconds, over 20,000 people can just lose their lives, so we can just, keep them in our prayers. I think we all share this world together. And when one country is affected, I'm sure we all feel the pain, and I was just watching today that, a delegation from South Africa is going to support the rescue efforts. So when one country is affected, it's everybody that is affected. And we think of those women and men. For me, it breaks my heart to see a man crying so loud. The pain is just too much to see, and you ask so many questions. And these people, at the moment, they're not well. They're not well mentally, they're not well physically. And for us, I think as I'm sitting here, I just want to be first grateful, to be healthy and to be in a space where I am today, because it could have been, I could find myself there. And, so for me, I think the starting point of even just healing ourselves is also to count your blessings, to really count your blessings, because that is a starting point for me of well-being, of even mental being and mental wellness. And I would like to share this one experience with everyone, really just to complement as my comment on the health issues that we are talking about, and talking about counting your blessings. So myself and my husband, we struggled to really have kids. And I know we're going to clinics and going to the hospital, at the hospital at that time, at the fertility clinic. The first time you go there, that's when you realize that first, your problem is not unique and you're not the only one. So that alone, it makes you adjust your expectations. That, when you're in your corner, in your bedroom, you think the world has fallen around me, like I'm the only one of this problem. But when you go there, then you realize, hey, I'm not alone. How can we support one another? And I think that is one of the lessons that I've learned. A second lesson that I've learned, I've got 2 boys. Then after that, yeah, God is so good, blessed us with 2 boys. Then I fell pregnant with my 3rd child, who was going to be a girl. She was going to be a girl. And we were ready to welcome the girl. And that girl decided to come a stillborn baby. That again, my faith was challenged. And I remember sitting in Mediclinic, in military Mediclinic, and a nurse came to see me, and I'm crying and I'm complaining. And when the nurse told me her story, she said, I'm a nurse. Madeleine, look at me. I am a nurse. My first pregnancy, I had an ectopic pregnancy. They cut 1 tube. And then I fell pregnant again. Went to another tube, another ectopic pregnancy. In the other tube, they had to cut the other tube. And as I'm standing here, I don't have a child. You will go back, yes, you will go back empty-handed, but you will find 2 boys in the house waiting for you. I stopped crying and I never cried again. Count your blessings. It's one of the powerful sources of healing, healing your emotions, your mental, issues, and all that. So we've really heard, Tshepang, I'm so sorry that I did not have a chance to talk to you, but this is such an amazing, powerful young man, like Lynette was saying, maybe 20, 30 years before, that was her. And it's just so amazing to learn from young people like him, where we could really just get, and I think that he's up to date on the new developments on, wellness issues, health issues, mental issues, the depression, the stress, the anxiety, so I think we've learned so much from him. And Tate, thank you so much. I know you're also not in a room, for just your contribution. You know what? We are at that age where we start monitoring, any signage of, is it menopause or not? So we are that, entry point. And like she was saying, for some women, it starts much earlier, so it's always good to be educated. And I love what Dr. Lynette says. My health is my responsibility. I think for me, that is the one thing I'll take away, that, we cannot wait for government. We cannot wait for anyone to actually look after our well-being. We are responsible. We cannot say, no, this one should have, they should have. How about yourself? How about me? What am I doing to actually protect to preserve my own well-being, also to promote my own well-being, as they were giving us advice, the walking, sometimes you might not need any chemical in your body. Maybe you just need some nice fresh air or just a nice walk on a mountain. I can't remember what Dr. Lynette called it again. Sometimes we really aware. I think awareness or education was actually, for me, the key takeaway. Everyone, all the speakers, they stood on the fact that education is important, because when we are educated, as they were saying, then only we'll be able to help our fellow brothers and sisters, because even men go through depression and, like Mama Kay was saying, so much suicide, we all suffer, yes, we all suffer differently, to different extents, but the challenges is the health challenges are for all of us. And we know that us as women going into the marketplace, we are in the marketplace. We have maybe we suffer a bit more because, naturally we have to nurture the family, we have to do this, but then we realize as well, we need to go on the market and not necessarily, some of us are not necessarily forced to be on the marketplace, but it's just like, what, I feel I have potential, I have, so much that God has placed in me. I really want to be there and make my contribution and, do something with what I have. But when we go there, it's also, we face so many challenges. But I think what Dr. Lynette and the others were saying, education, because we interact with women, with other women entrepreneurs, with other women professionals, with our colleagues, with our friends, and we know what women go through, from our homes, to our workplace, to our marketplace, we really go through a lot. When we educate ourselves as women, it's actually an asset that will help a next woman next to you. Thank you so much for this contribution. And I think even starting by myself, I will really take time to start learning all the symptoms and, so that I can help, because I interact with a lot of women, so that when you see a sign in another fellow woman, and I remember actually 2 days ago, and I will wrap up with this. This happened to me 2 days ago. I was in my office and a colleague came, we never really interacted, but she came to ask something, and as she was asking for something, I was calm and all that, but something, it was business related. Then as I started talking to her, then she asked me a question. How do you deal with such and such case? For me, I didn't know that it was she's affected by that. How do you deal with gossips? How do you deal with this? And I'm just telling her what I know. Sometimes knowledge and experience, it's quite important. Oh, no, I'm just saying, what? Sometimes you need to learn to ignore some other critics. If your heart is clean, you don't blame yourself for anything. Don't worry about what others say. It will affect your health. It will affect your well-being. And the minute I said that, she broke into tears. She broke into tears. It's like, this is what I'm facing. This is what I'm going through. I feel like my whole world, has collapsed and all that. And sometimes it's good to start identifying those signs. And from 2 days ago, I'm like, I'm going to adopt her and just start coaching her and mentoring her, so she does not break down and all that. So I think education is important just for us to start identifying those early signs and see how we can mentor, how we can coach, how can we, sometimes even just share information, share knowledge, share, whatever we know. It does help us as women, just to sit in one room and just sharing, hey, what, this happened to me, and this is how I dealt with and all that. It's actually therapeutic on its own, as women. And those are the topics that we need to be focusing on when we meet as women. How can we help one another? So yeah, thank you so much, Mama Kay. And we look forward to a successful 2023 again. Thank you.
Thank you. Powerful. And, you being open there with your own personal journey is interesting and good to hear. And I think today has been more of everybody sharing their personal deep, even if it's for a short time. And I'm glad, we've been able to do that. But before we wrap up, I know we've gone a little bit over time now, but I'll just get Katie to quickly summarize and then I will just wrap up. So don't go yet. We're going to finish very soon. So Katie, if you could be brief with any programs for leading women of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mama Kay. I think just quickly, as you mentioned, the next Future is Female virtual event is going to be on the 10th of March. We usually did it towards the end of the month, but I think it just gets too busy. So we are going to just try out doing it on the second week from now on. So every second Friday, please diarize. That would be our monthly Future is Female. The next topic that we will be looking at is marketing and brand visibility for organizations, companies alike that employ and that are led by women, because the UN theme for March 2023 is innovation and technology as a means of gender equality. And when we look at the business sphere in Africa, most of the entrepreneurs are women, and most of them thrive on word of mouth. So this webinar will just look at how do we scale our businesses using innovative and technology tools. So as I said, that would be on the 10th of March. We will post about it on social media, but you can already start registering. I'll put the link on the chat. And then we'll post it on social media. If you've missed it, please do register there and share it with other people. And on top of that, we have an amazing calendar of events this year. We have our second edition of the Africa Partnership for Growth Symposium. But this year, it's not just a symposium, it's a symposium, exhibition, and awards. I don't want to say too much about it now, but we will definitely be telling you more at our next event, and we will have beautiful visuals to show you as well. And leading up to that, we have a trade mission to Guinea, where we will actually be taking a group from South Africa to go and trade with and do business with West Africa. So this is a great opportunity, again, to scale our businesses and our organizations across the continent and with other regions. That too will be shared momentarily, but that we will share on our social media very soon. So please keep an eye out on all Leading Women of Africa's social media platforms. We will have another trade mission to Iceland later on in the year, which we will also be sharing on our social media. So if you're not following us, please follow Leading Women of Africa on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much. If I missed anything else, you'll find it on social media.
All right. Thank you, Katie, for that brief summary, but obviously exciting times for us all in terms of the program here and other programs that Leading Women of Africa is leading on. So I just want to use the opportunity I know Madeleine already said thank you to everybody and summarize very nicely, what the key points are, just to, add on to that. Thank you, Dr. Lynette. Thank you, Tate. Thank you. Our dear Tshepang is a mental health activist and the assistant at the UFS Center for Human Rights, and he does a lot of work in terms of advocacy. Tate Makayi is an hormone wellness coach, founder of Perfect Symphony, and Dr. Lynette Jansen-Olarogun owns her own practice, and she is as well a deputy chairperson for the Mowbray Maternity Hospital. Thank you all for just sharing. From what Madeleine said, yes, we all need to count our blessings. And if you're going to take one thing out of today, those listening, because we do show this afterwards, not just to the people here, but for other people, to learn and, hopefully share more about as well. So we speak about sharing. That's what I think what we all need to take away. Sharing, and that's part of educating others, because we said education is important, sharing is therapeutical. Let's continue to share what we're comfortable enough to share, because I know sometimes as well sharing could have its own issues as well. So whatever you're comfortable about to share, please, you're not alone. You heard it so many times. Speak up, speak to others, seek for help. And yes, you're not alone in this. I think that's all I need to say now. Normally we have an after party, but I think we had a meet party there earlier on. So I think we're just going to skip that after party today. We've checked on everybody's health, and we'll look forward to the March edition on the 10th of March. 4:30. We started a little bit early today, 4:30 to 6:30, and we're going to try our best to make sure there's no hacking into the system again. But like Madeline said, we don't have control of some of these things as well. We'll only just do our best as well. So thank you all. Till next time, stay safe, stay warm, keep walking, keep smiling, take that walk. You heard, just the little things alone is good enough. I don't know if in closing, Dr. Lynette, anything you want to just send us off with, or you're good?
Can I just say something, Mama Kay?
Yeah. Okay.
Heidi, can you just add the speakers into the speakers group, please? Because I see they are not there. Let's just grow that speakers group, the Futures Female Speakers Group.
I will do so.
Let's grow it, yeah.
Okay. So, and yeah, the next topic is very important as well, marketing and brand visibility. I think we need to start sharing now so that we get people that need to hear about it, and we will, I'm sure, get powerful speakers. So, Dr. Lynette Jansen-Olarogun, you've got the floor to close. I've handed over to you.
I just want to say thank you so much. It's been such a powerful afternoon, just spending time in the presence of such beautiful women. And I'm not just saying that. I think this is an amazing space. I've already sent some messages to some of my girlfriends to say, okay, I'm at you next time, just to listen in. And if we can all, as humans, if we all can, as women, support each other, life will be so much easier, so much better. And thank you for allowing me to speak, Mama Kay. I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled, and I'm glad that I can still contribute something to discussions. Thank you so much for who you are and for the people you surround yourself with. So thank you so much. It's been
Thank you, KD. All the people doing the backdrop. Thank you. Thank you, John. And sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that party that we were involved in was really unwanted. I've never seen anything as that. It took me a while to kind of figure out what was going on, and it was offensive on every level. But thank goodness we can also, as a unit, say that those are not the things we're involved in.
Yeah. No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Lynette. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
We'll close. This will be shared as well, edited, of course, at a later date on Impact Africa. So you will hear more about it at that. So thank you all, Senza, KD, Afsa, Namaste, Molweni, Bye Danki, Merci beaucoup, Eshe Pupo. Shall I go on?